So you want to know the secrets to investing. You want to know what investors are really looking for. In this guide, this is the ultimate pitch deck into what investors are thinking and how you can sift through 95% of everybody else. Number one is the problem and purpose of the company. Here, you need to identify what caused you to start this company. You could have started a million different ideas, but an investor is going to want to know, why did you start this company and what is the secret behind that? By identifying the problem in a short, concise way and showing the value that you're providing with the problem, you can give investors a clear idea onto what your company is about. Now, number two is the solution and the channel of distribution. You need to have a slide that is a super concise solution that makes sense on what you're actually solving and how. This is the simpler the better, the easiest way you can describe it, one or two sentences onto what your solution actually is. And then what I also like to include in here is, what is the channel of distribution that you actually plan on distributing the app? Some people do an app, some people do a website, some people do a Google Chrome extension. By identifying clearly what your objective is into doing it startup, an investor is going to be really excited that you have a clear directive on how you're trying to build this. Now, this is super, super important. In fact, this is really what you should do before you even start building your pitch deck, is a competitor analysis. And the reason being is, I know a lot of people out there will say, I don't have any competitors. I'm reinventing the wheel. I'm the first one of its kind. Well, let me just tell you, there is always someone out there you can compare yourself to, but it's a good thing. And let me tell you why. By figuring out what the competition does, you can really focus on what their weaknesses are. When you identify those weaknesses, that is what your company does best. So let me give you an example. Let's say there's a company down the street and they're selling pressure washers. They have ladies do pressure washing jobs, but their service takes a week for them to get out and do their job. You could sell the exact same product, but if you are faster at delivering that pressure washing service, you can actually stand out in an already complete saturated market. So by doing the same way in a brand new space, a brand new product idea, by identifying what your similar competitors do, you can show investors why you're going to be different and what makes you truly special. Next on our list, we have the market potential slide. Now, with market potential, it can get really confusing because there are so many numbers out there you could include here. But what I would recommend is that you find a market potential with the TAM, which is the total addressable market. You find a really big market. Then you have the SAM, which is a serviceable addressable market, and then you have the SUM, which is a serviceable attainable market. Now, you give a really big number to the investor on how big you think the market is. Let's say you're in AI healthcare and there is, it's a $10 billion market in the United States, for example. Then you go, okay, of that market, what is actually addressable for me? What is the market that's potentially capturable within that realm in the app or the mobile or the website, whatever I'm building? That would then, let's say we narrow it down to 100 million. From that 100 million, what do you think you can capture? Do you think you can capture 10%? Well, then include 10 million in that. So you kind of have a big, medium and small version of what you're looking for, but I've also seen people do it for users. So let's say, for example, there's 100,000 people in that market in the US. That is another good way to show the investor you have an idea of what's out there and what you are truly going to capture. Number 5, we have the ideal customer profile. Now, this is super important because when you start a business, you need to know who is the biggest pain point in the market. What is the customer out there that solve the biggest problem for? What a lot of people do is they go, everybody applies to my problem. And you might solve a really big problem, but you need to first tackle the people that are going to benefit the most from your product. And the reason being that if you do that, you will have better video testimonials, which is going to be greater for what we're talking about in the next couple slides. But also, not only that, you have now a customer that is extremely happy. And what are they going to do? They're going to tell all their friends how you solved their problem. And so as you grow that base of that really niche market, then you can slowly grow from that. A lot of people go really broad and they don't understand their audience well they really need to. When in reality, they start very, very small. The moment your investor is looking for the revenue model. Now, with the revenue model, especially for a SaaS company, what I'm going to recommend is that you show a 3-tier model or even other ways to make money. Maybe you have a subscription-based model. Maybe there's a sponsorship program to make money. Maybe there's even a, AdSense way to make money. You need to list all the different ways that your company is going to make money so that investor knows how much different products you are planning for. What a lot of investors do and what a lot of founders do is they jump into the startup and they're like, you know what? Everybody's going to love the product. I'm going to be the next Facebook. I'm not even going to worry about the money. And hopefully some investors are going to believe my dream. That does not happen anymore these days. And here's the thing. I love dreamer. I'm a dreamer. I love that mindset. but you also have to think from their perspective. They're about to write you a check for 100, 200, 300, $1 million if you go that, the Shark Tank, horror stories where you try to raise that early without any revenue. Could happen, by the way, but rare. But if you do that, you need to back it up. You go, well, guess what? I can ask for $100,000 because I think that we can charge $50 from the product. And then in the actual meeting, you'll explain why you charge that amount, because there's got to be a reason too. You can't just be like $10 for no reason. You have to figure out, okay, so my cost for this is $3. The other competitor market are priced at 15, so maybe I should charge 8 to 10. That is how you price it, and that is how you should do your revenue model slide. The most important slide that you have been waiting for, and what your investor is looking for, the evidence of success. Now, this can be a scary one for most people because they go, the whole point I'm raising is so I can actually show some success and show people want it. You need to be doing some other things beforehand, especially these days. So I'm going to give you a quick tip here, 2 tips on how you can actually show this. Number 1, and what I'm highly recommend, is do an early beta list. A lot of people don't think about paying $50 on Fiverr, even if you're not a developer, for a short and sweet website, one page, where people can actually list their email address on the wait list. What you can do is post things on social media, post free content, and people will slowly start joining that wait list. Well, when you have a slide like this, you can go tell the investor, I have 150 people ready on the wait list. Well, let me tell you this, even having 150 people on the wait list is better than probably 90% of the pitch decks they are seeing with absolutely all these pre-seed, slides, but no one else has that they're showing an actual demand for the product. You can be that 10%. You can be that hype target where no one really else is doing that, especially in pre-seed. So do that. The other option in this is that you can actually interview people with the problem. So let's say, for example, you're a college and you're solving this big college problem within colleges or whatever. You can interview students, you can interview professors and teachers and ask them, how cool would it be if we had a product that could solve your problem? And you ask them questions specifically. Recording a 1 to 2 minute video to play here on the evidence of success can really show an investor you've done your homework and you've been asking people other than yourself if they actually have that problem that are in that field. This could be a great way to show the evidence of success, and in my opinion, one of the most important slides in the pitch deck. Next is the forecasting slide. Your investor is foaming at the mouth for seeing this forecasting slide, and the reason being is because they want to see in 1, 2, and 3 years how much money is the business actually going to make. Let me give you an example. Let's say you price your company at $250,000 at a 25% valuation. So what you're saying is that the company is worth $1 million. Well, what I've seen before is that people will do that and then they'll say, okay, year 1, 2, 3, and 4, by year 4, we're going to be making $50,000 a year. So hold up, you're telling me in 4 years, let's say you do 3 times revenue, which is typical, that company is only worth $150,000 when you're asking the investor for $250,000. So basically what you're saying is that the company's worth $1 million, but in 4 years, in the best possible situation, based on what you're charging, the company's only going to be worth $100,000. The investor just lost 90% of their money before they've even invested in the company. They're going to look at that and say, this guy has no idea, this guy or girl has no idea how to financially plan for the company, how to actually make money. So you have 2 options here. You either lower your valuation, so you take a lower evaluation, or you raise more money. So you could do either or okay, actually there's a third option, or number 3 is that you can raise the price or provide additional income streams for the product. So let's say, for example, all you thought of was a 3-tier model. Well, maybe you could sprinkle in sponsorships and you can sprinkle in other forms of revenue that will actually drive growth here and actually equate to a lot higher valuation for that investor. This is a really good way in order to do that. Next, you have the roadmap for the company. Now, with a roadmap, you need to have, in my opinion, 8 to 10 bullet points and be super specific. My opinion is I would space it out by 4 months at a time and really get detailed on what you're going to build. A lot of people will have a roadmap saying in 3 years, this is what I'm going to do. Well, how are you going to get there? What's your plan in doing that? This would be a huge opportunity where you can actually use the roadmap to say, all right, in 4 months, and let's say currently right now is June of 2024, in September of 2024, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 1,000 people on the early beta list, and that is what I'm going to have. 4 months after that, I'm going to have my first beta of the product, and we're going to then have 2,500 users, and we're going to start scaling marketing. This is really where it gets important to the investor side of things. You can even plan out, let's say, a year from now. So you do 4-month increments. You get from a year from now, 12 months from now, 15 months from now, and you actually show that you're going to have to raise your Series A round. The investor will be super excited because what a lot of companies do is they will raise either not enough money or they won't financially plan. And so let's say they're not hitting the goals they expected for themselves. They need more money. Well, the worst thing a company can do is not financially plan and then running out of money with a successful idea just because they didn't raise enough money or they didn't plan. So don't be like that entrepreneur. make sure you're financially planning for your company and plan out to where you want to be. Now, number 10 is the go-to-market plan. Congratulations, your investor thinks you're not an idiot yet and you've gone through your pitch deck, but you're not done yet. You're doing the go-to-market plan and you go, what's a good go-to-market plan? You need to be specific on how, let's say you're given the money, you're going to distribute the product because there's a million different ways to distribute. I could go down the row and pass out flyers. I could have billboards. I could have Google ads. I could partner with influencers. You could have, focus on partnerships. There are so many different ways that you can actually distribute your product. And an investor is going to want to know, honestly, you should know as well, how are you going to distribute the product? Where are your customers? You need to meet your customers where they at. All your customers are on Facebook scrolling. You need to be there. If all your customers are driving down the road, you need to be there. You need to find the ways where you need to meet your customers where they're going to be. And that is what you need to do for your go-to-market plan to be clear to an investor. So now we're going to talk about probably the slide you worked on first, which is the investment with money allocation. Now, a lot of people do a great job. I'm going to raise $250,000 at a 5% evaluation. Well, good luck with that, first of all. But if you do that evaluation, you need to justify where those funds are going in a percentage basis. I see a ton of entrepreneurs. They tell an investor, yeah, you give me a $250,000. Well, guess what? $200,000 is going to go straight in the product. If you tell the investor that most of the money is going back to a product that already nobody is using because you're pre-seed, he's going to look at you insane. He or she. What you need to do is you need to say, you know what? 75% of that money is actually going to go towards the distribution, and I'm going to put 75% into distributing the product and 25% in actually building the product. And I know a lot of you product-led entrepreneurs go, this is not good advice. I don't have a good enough product yet. What am I going to do? This is what you need to do. Build an MVP product. Build the most simple version of the product where you feel like you can charge money for. Sell that product. When you start bringing in MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue for your company, you start to get that consistent revenue. Then you can invest more in the product. But what a lot of people do is before any revenue, I'm going to use all these funds towards the product and not launch it, not tell anybody about it. You can release it and no one even wants your product. And that's why you need an MVP product. You need to slowly release it and test to see how much money you can start coming in. Once you build that basic version of the product, then you can start getting people in the door and making money. I see a ton of product-led entrepreneurs. I love a great product. I love a great idea. But don't do that at the expense of costing you, getting that funding from the investor, but also yourself when you actually start going through the process and spending all the money on the product. So you've made it this far and you go, what's last? Well, you need to include what you're about and your relevant experience along with your team. So you need to include specifically on who you are, explain to the investor, why I'm starting a med tech company. I've been in medical technology for 10 years. That's a good thing to put on a pitch deck. You definitely need to include that. What I also recommend is putting the people that you're partnering with so the investor can really see, well, who am I actually going to deal with besides this awesome founder? You've gone through this, they're smart, but what's the relevant experience to everybody else? I'm also going to drop you a hidden gem here just as a piece of advice. If you're really struggling on lack of credibility, let's say you're a new founder like me. I was a very young founder. What I would recommend that you should do is build a slow board of directors. And what a board of directors is going to do is establish some credibility. Let's say you can, approach someone on LinkedIn or whatever, and you go, listen, I want you to be part of my board. You have 20 years experience in the medical space. I want to start a medical company. I know a little bit about what I'm doing, but you obviously have a lot more experience. That investor is going to be so glad that you're having other people on board with you to do that. Let's also give another example. Let's say you're a very young founder and you need mentorship. You can also use a board of directors as a way to have mentorship opportunities built into the company so you can avoid those pitfalls, that they've seen from other founders do. And so what this is going to allow you to do is you can do set a very small percentage of equity aside, but I'm going to tell you in the long run, it's going to be worth it because you have someone on your board who's scaled companies before, or you have someone in the space. They're going to save you so much time, energy, and effort going forward, even meeting once every 4 to 6 weeks in the vision of the company. It is going to be well worth doing that, especially if you don't have all your ducks in a row. Real quick too, if this provided any value, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like, and comment down below what your startup is. I actually interview startup founders in my podcast every Saturday. Go check that out. And we talk about specifics of their company. I'd love to promote you. The whole goal there is to give a free platform to entrepreneurs, especially early stage founders who have, they don't have any immediate experience. They don't have anything, going on. They really want to push their product and they're early in the startup founder. I would absolutely love to interview, ask you questions about the company, and give you that free exposure you're looking for. Thank you so much for watching.